Okay, hello everybody. To begin today's service, I wanted to introduce myself for those of you who I may not have had the pleasure of meeting just yet. My name is Reverend Candace Shibada, and it's an honor for me to be with all of you today during the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church's Obon and Hatsubon service. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to be with us today. So we are coming together. It's been a few years, and I know Zoom has been a little bit difficult, but I'm so glad that you're able to join us. And this particular service allows us to turn our hearts and minds to our loved ones who have passed away, and it's an expression of our deep gratitude to them as well. This particular service also honors our loved ones who have passed away since the last Obon in 2019 to July 2021. And it's considered the family's first Hatsubon service for all of those families who have lost a loved one during these past 2 years. The pandemic has definitely prevented all of us from coming together at the temple today during this very difficult time for our families. But I truly hope, and I'm sure all of our members hope that this service can provide you with a little bit of comfort as you join today and as we remember your loved ones and all of our loved ones who have passed away and gone before us. So what I'd like to do is begin with the tolling of the bell and the kancho. As you can recall, still being at the temple, the kancho is something that we do to start and signal the start of a service. And as I mentioned so many times before, there's something that happens when we're in the temple and the kancho begins to ring and everybody kind of quiets down. And I really think that is an opportunity for us to quiet our minds and quiet our bodies to be present in this moment together. So please sit with me during the tolling of the bell. So we'll continue the service with our opening meditation that's been prepared by Darlene Bagshaw.
I'm unmuted.
Obon is festival day. We will gather friends all along the way and bring fruits and vegetables for the shrine.
Please join me in Gasho. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Okay, so we'll continue the service, and I'd like to share my screen with all of you today so that we can chant Sambutsuge together. And Sambutsuge is called Three Respectful Callings, and we call upon Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and the Buddhas of the 10 directions to be present today. We respond with the word Sangye Raku to welcome their presence. This will be followed by the aspiration, and after the aspiration, we will read the Hatsubon names of our members who have passed away within the last 2 years. So please take this opportunity with me to chant Sambutsuge. Ujo Ida Nyodai Niudo Jo San Ge Da Pujo Shaka Nyodai Niudo Jo San Ge Da Pujo Shibon Nyodai Niudo Jo San Ge Da On this occasion of the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church's Obon and Hatsubon service, we have gathered to receive the Dharma in presence of Amida Buddha, the embodiment of great wisdom and compassion. We have also gathered in memory of our loved ones who have passed away, and we reflect upon and appreciate our ties with each and every one of them. In this moment of meditation, we remember our loved ones who have passed away and returned to the Pure Land. They are One moment, we'll go ahead and spotlight so all of our families can see the lanterns of your loved one. Roy Yokoi, Kuniko Nishi, Edwin Mizutani, Barbara Miyano, Kazuo Kenneth Fuji, Yoshi Wong, Howard Mizutani, James Hirakawa, Eileen Okada, Alice Marie Takaki, Suwako Su Hori, Nellie Sachiko Kawamura, and Yoshiaki Robert Ito. Those who have departed and those who still remain meet again in spirit upon this Obon and Hatsubon service. Please join me in Gasho. Namu Wami Dabutsu, Namu Wami Dabutsu, Namu Wami Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu. Okay. Thank you so much as we remember and honor all of our loved ones, especially those individuals who have passed away within 2019 until this year, and who we remember during this first Hatsubon service for them. So we will continue the service with the sutra chanting. And I'll share my screen so that you can follow along with me at home. So we will be chanting Sambutsuge. And this particular chant is actually a song or gatha, which comes from the larger sutra of immeasurable life. In this hymn, Bodhisattva Dhammakara expresses the desire and determination to attain Buddhahood. And this is for the sake of all beings, and this occurred prior to becoming Amida Buddha. For the families participating in this Hatsubon service, I welcome you to offer incense at your home Butsudan or altar during the chanting. 未不下脱不正上位会に精進納税三昧知恵以上公正特物不行志願一切空空一切大安決し無物百千億万無量大小修行五者供養一切死と小仏不尿愚道検証不逆異尿五者小仏正解不不加減無種節度光明師匠変死小国尿税精進異人な量量が差仏国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国尿内音二無闘争ガト愛民五脱一切地方大小心熱症状意図が国気楽アノン好物神妙聖が心象没がの日力小小欲地方生存知恵無限浄土子孫知が信用けど心身食読中家業精進忍住不見ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブガニシクロク平等聖祭とも大心お嬢あ Namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda. Okay, thank you everybody for joining me in the sutra chanting. I hope that you were chanting and helping me along at home. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. Unfortunately, my allergies got the best of me, but I hope that you were chanting along at home with me so that you can continue on with the chanting while I was coughing. So thank you so much for your understanding. I appreciate it. So at this time, what I'd like to do is share my Dharma message for today's Obon and Hatsubon service. So to begin, will you please join me in Gassho? When sentient beings think on Amida, just as a child thinks of its mother, they indeed see the Tathagata, who is never distant, both in the present and in the future. From the collected works of Shinran, Hymns of the Pure Land. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. So I opened my Dharma message, which is kind of typical when we do give Dharma messages. We select a writing from Shinran Shonin to kind of hone in on and focus our message on. And for those of you who have joined me during my Dharma messages and services for Stockton, Lodi, or Walnut Grove, this one I've mentioned before, and I think it's because it really resonates with me as it talks about mother and child. And what I wanted to do is touch upon this relationship of parents and children in relation to Obon and Hatsubon this year. So Obon season is upon us, and it's looking a little different compared to our normal Obons and bazaars at our temples. But if you can imagine with me, it really has been one of my favorite times of year, especially when I was little. So typically, of course, it's during our summer breaks when we're children, and it was a time that I felt more carefree and I didn't have to worry about homework. And the Obon and Bazaar in Stockton spanned 2 consecutive weekends in July before it was moved to the beginning of August. So as a child and young person, I always look forward to the Obon dancing practices leading up to the community event of dancing in our courtyard and dancing to familiar Japanese folk music. The cultural and food bazaar that followed the next weekend is where I would enjoy, probably like many of you too, your favorite bazaar foods that you may only get once a year. And so I too was reunited with my friends and family members during this particular time. So many of you might have similar feelings and memories regarding the Obon season, but do you know the origin of Obon? And I might have talked about this before, but I did just want to talk about the origin just really briefly of Obon. So the origin of Obon comes from a specific sutra or teaching of the Buddha. And this specific sutra is called the Ulambana Sutra. And it refers to one of the Buddha's disciples, Moggallana. And Moggallana had the ability to kind of see beyond our own existence. And this allowed Moggallana to see his mother who had passed away. And he was shocked and surprised when he realized that his mother was in the realm of hungry ghosts. And she was suffering quite a bit because she wasn't able to eat anything. And when she did attempt to eat, the food would just burst into flames. So because Moggallana was so worried about his mother, he went to the Buddha for advice. The Buddha advised him to go offer food to the monks who were just ending their retreat during the rainy season. And the Buddha instructed Moggallana to do this as an act of selfless giving, which we know as dana. And this would not only save his mother from the realm of hungry ghosts, but 7 generations of parents after. Moggallana was actually able to carry out this feat and help his mother, and she was saved from the realm of hungry ghosts. And he was so happy that he jumped up and down and started clapping his hands. And this experience brought him great joy. And so this story is the foundation of the Obon festival and dancing, and kind of known as this joyous time of year. So although Mogolana was very joyful that his mother was saved from suffering, I can imagine the anguish that he was experiencing while he realized that she was suffering, and after his loss of the mother as well. And while we look at the lives of the Buddha and also Shinran Shonin, who's our founder of Buddhism, they also have a commonality as well in regards to their mothers. And from what we know, Prince Siddhartha, who would later become enlightened and become Shakyamuni Buddha, he lost his mother when he was very young too. And this is also true for Shinran Shonin, as he lost both of his parents at a very young age. And as I mentioned before, even Shinran Shonin, as a very little boy, experienced difficult times, and he knew what suffering was. So while Shinran was living in Japan at a young age, this was a time of natural disasters, war, famine, and disease. So we too are experiencing very similar turmoil and such conditions in our lives as we continue to hear about the ongoing effects of natural disasters and climate change. There's continued unrest and wars all over the world. Famine, not only in other parts of the world, but also in the United States as well. And of course, the continuation of the coronavirus pandemic. So due to all of these conditions during Shinran's life, and especially at this young age, at the age of 9, Shinran was taken to Shorenin Temple. And maybe some of you had had an opportunity to go to this temple in Kyoto, Japan before. So he was taken by his uncle to enter the monkhood. So he was going to become a monk at age 9. Since it was rather late in the evening, the monk who received them said and insisted that it might be better if we wait until the morning to ordain this young boy. But legend has it that Shinran composed this following poem at that very moment. So supposedly Shinran said, "Cherry blossoms that are felt to last till the morrow may well blow away during the night." And so many of you might have heard this poem or variations of it that I might have shared, or other ministers, or you might have read it before. And due to this poem, it's said that the monk immediately ordained Shinran. And I believe that even, again, as a young child, Shinran Shonin understood these workings of suffering and impermanence in his life. And he knew that tomorrow was never guaranteed. And as you know, the life of a cherry blossom is very, very short. It blooms and shares its beauty for maybe a week or two. And before we know it, the winds of impermanence blow, and we have to wait until the next year to enjoy their beauty again. Impermanence in the form of losing a loved one is one of the greatest sufferings that we will experience in our lifetime. We can experience so many different emotions after losing somebody that we love, and they can be quite confusing, and we may feel lost without our loved one in our lives. However, there is something that we can learn from our grief as well. There was a book that I read called Understanding Your Grief, 10 Essential Touchstones for Finding Hope and Healing Your Heart. And this is by Dr. Alan Wolfelt. And he offers 10 aspects of our grief and how we can still have continued meaning in our life after losing a loved one. Dr. Wolfelt stated, and I quote, "To open ourselves to the presence of loss and pain means to honor this pain, since our pain is the key that opens our hearts and leads to healing. This honors the love we feel for the person who has died," end quote. And Dr. Wolfelt mentioned that there's several misconceptions about loss and grief. And what he offered many other ideas how to dispel these misconceptions about grief. So one of these misconceptions is that Tears of grief are only a sign of weakness. So tears of grief are often associated with weakness or personal inadequacy for dealing with loss. Yet, however, as Dr. Wolfelt noticed or mentioned in his writings, crying is nature's way of releasing internal tension in your body, and it allows you to communicate the need to be comforted. Tears allow for genuine healing. And so I was really taken aback by his comment. Excuse me, tears allow for genuine healing. So even Dr. Naoki Nabeshima from Ryukoku University from Kyoto, Japan, also gave a lecture regarding 3 interpretations of Shinran's approach to grief and bereavement. And I really appreciate this specific lecture, and I might have mentioned it before, but I think it kind of resonates with Dr. Wolfelt's words as well. So Dr. Nabeshima, he said, first, Shinran's attitude towards grief is that people should let their tears fall when they are in sorrow. When people want to cry, he thinks they should cry. Dr. Nabeshima infers that Shinran acknowledges that we are all human beings, and we suffer when we are in our times of grief and bereavement. And even though we're suffering and we have the pain of losing a loved one, we're always embraced by the Buddha's compassion. And he further suggests that suffering from and mourning a loss can lead to an awakening of profound love in us as well. Excuse me. So in regards to the word cry, naku, I wanted to share with you the kanji. So hopefully this isn't backwards. I hope you can see it as it's read. So this is naku, and naku means to cry, to weep, and to sob. And it's quite interesting, the different components of this kanji. Naku, one is water, which I'm glad that I have some right now because of my throat, but this component here is part of water. And this kanji character here means to stand up. So this combination of water and to stand for the kanji for to cry. And so I believe that this specific kanji character really acknowledges Dr. Wolfelt's and Dr. Nabeshima's ideas that tears truly allow us to heal after the loss of a loved one. But it also allows us to have strength to stand back up and to awaken to a deeper and profound love for that individual as well. So again, I opened up with this passage from Shinran Shonin in regards to mothers, and I wanted to just recite that again. When sentient beings think on Amida, just as a child thinks of its mother, they indeed see the Tathagata, who is never distant, both in the present and in the future. So although the reality of impermanence is hard to bear at times, especially when we lose a parent at any age or any other loved one in our life, Shinran's words remind us that they are always with us, in the past, in the present, and even in the future. This is very similar to Amida Buddha, who is constantly embracing us with wisdom and compassion as a loving parent. And when we call upon Amida Buddha, we recite the words Namo Amida Butsu as the Buddha's name, as we place our hands together in Gassho. So saying the name of the Buddha as Namo Amida Butsu is very similar to us calling out to our mothers or fathers or individuals who helped raise us when we were young children. I'm sure that each and every one of you can recall when you were little and you might have been playing in another room and you called out to your mom, Mommy, Daddy, and they came running over to you to make sure that you were okay. And I believe that they do this because there's a trust, a safety, and security that's built and established between the hearts of children and their parents. And because this all starts from the cries when we're infants. Parents, they don't want to see us in pain or suffering, and they attend to us when we call out to them in our cries. And this is likened to Namo Amida Butsu and being embraced by Amida Buddha's, again, infinite love, wisdom, and compassion, no matter where we are. So I hope in the spirit of Obon and Hatsubon season that you remember your loved ones, the memories that you shared with them, the love that you shared, the tears that you have shed, and the Nembutsu teachings that continue to provide you guidance and comfort. So to conclude my message for this year's Obon and Hatsubon, I would like to read the letter on white ashes written by Renyul Shonin, the 8th head priest of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. And as I mentioned at our funeral and memorial services, on white ashes is frequently read as it reminds us about the impermanent nature of all beings and every living being. So please bow your head in reverence as this letter is read. On white ashes, in silently contemplating the transient nature of human existence, nothing is more fragile and fleeting than the life of humans. Thus we have not heard of human life lasting for 1,000 years. Life passes quickly, and few among us can maintain their life for even 100 years. Whether I go before others or others go before me, whether it be today or tomorrow, who is to know? Those that go before us are as countless as the drops of dew. Although in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening we may return to white ashes. When the winds of impermanence blow, our eyes are closed forever. And when the last breath leaves us, our face loses its color. Though loved ones may gather and lament, everything is to no avail. The body is then sent into an open field and vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving only the white ashes. Nothing is more real than this truth of life. The fragile nature of human existence underlies both the young and the old. Therefore, we must, one and all, turn to the teachings of the Buddha and awaken to the essence of life. By so understanding the meaning of death, we come to appreciate the meaning of this life, which is to be treasured because it is unrepeatable. By virtue of true compassion, let us realize the unexcelled value of this life, and let us live together with gratitude in our hearts, humbly and respectfully. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Namo. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to share my screen one more time. So if you can please join me in the 3 treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we should be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the 3 treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, so to conclude today's service, I'd like to just close with one last thought and closing meditation. Please join me in Gassho. What we have once enjoyed deeply, we can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. From Helen Keller. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu. Okay, so at this time, I would just like to express my appreciation to the following people, and I apologize if I missed anybody, but hopefully maybe Holly or Christy can join in if I missed anybody at all. But to make this service possible, I'd like to thank Charlie and Darlene Bagshaw for their assistance with Zoom this afternoon here at the temple, and Christy Ishizuka and Holly Pauls for their assistance with streaming at the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church, Sharon Yokoi and all of the individuals who assisted with organizing the Hatsubon list for me, and Tad Shibada for his assistance with the flower arrangements. Did I miss anybody else who was a part of today's service? And of course, well, all of you, thank you so much for joining us via Zoom. I know it's not the most ideal, and of course, we miss being together at the temple, but thankfully, through technology, we're able to meet in this fashion, and of course, honor our loved ones who we've been dearly missing since of course, since their passing, but especially for our Hatsubon families who haven't had an opportunity yet to either participate in a Hatsubon or even a funeral memorial service. So my heart is with each and every one of you, and I continue to keep all of you in my thoughts. But thank you so much, everybody, for taking time to join us today. And does anybody have any announcements that they would like to share? No? Okay. Okay, so if you'd like the opportunity to stay on just to see everybody's smiling faces, please go ahead and do that. If you'd like to, I'll go ahead and stop recording and stop streaming so that you have an opportunity to turn on your cameras so everybody can see your smiling, beautiful face. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. Please continue to stay safe and well.